You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 3 and Episode 104 of the Daily Beaver here on the Crier Media Network. And I just noticed in my notes that I spelt everything wrong because it says today recording day is Friday, April 21st. I have little blocks and things where I just changed the date. I have them in different colors. So I put Fur Day instead of Friday, and I didn't change the TH to ST.
Well, shit. No, I mean, shoot.
At Fur Day, April 21st.
It's when I see people write the 21th, I want to reach to the computer and smack somebody for that.
That's what's exactly written, the 21st.
I'm going to hit you for that.
It's like I have the day in green and then everything like the Fry Thurs in black. So I just changed that. And then I have the date April in green, but the date, like I said, because the letters change at the end, I just changed the number before going to bed. Forgot the letters.
The 21st.
The 21st.
It's not a thing. It's not a thing.
I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me is my dear friend, Mr. Grizzly. Yes, or Fur Day, F-U-R-D-A-Y, indeed. Of course, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We have a Friday morning bite for you. But first, before we do anything, we must say hello to my constant companion, my pal, my buddy, Mr. Grizzly. Now, I can tell by your eyes that you might be having a bit of a tough day, so how's your mental health today?
Well, Mr. Beaver, first off, good morning. You know what? I'm not cognizant of where my mental health is because I only had about an hour's sleep. It might even be less than that. Because I have one of those Google Hub things. I have one in the office and one by my bed. And the one by my bed serves as both a clock and a radio and a weather. You know, it does a million things. But it also has a sleep monitoring system. And I checked my sleep monitoring to see, and it didn't even register for last night. So it's probably less than an hour's sleep. Yeah, I'm a little rough, but I am in good spirits because I was, as I was prowling the internet, prowling.
Trolling.
crawling.
Surfing.
I, I came across this because yesterday was April 20th, which is used to be for people who partake of the cannabis. It used to be the big thing, to protest on Parliament Hill. But what are you protesting? Like if you go to the Hill to get high on 420, why? Like there's nothing to protest. It's legal, man. You can smoke it anywhere you want.
Just the
But I ran
community.
across
Yes.
this. It's like, how high are you? Well, according to this person, you've been high before. Woman accidentally joins search party looking for herself. But we bet you haven't been this high before. I don't get high because I'm allergic to the product. I can't do it, but I find that to be hilarious. Hey, who are we looking for? Oh, we're looking for Susan Q. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll join the thing. Hey, wait a minute. That's me. Am I looking for me? I'm looking for me. Let's find me. I'm here somewhere. You gotta be messed up, man.
It's almost like the time I learned about the vicious cycle of pot.
I don't know what that is.
Went to a friend's place for Christmas dinner.
Okay.
Small, tiny place, small, tiny fridge, and my friend likes to cook really fancy. So he basically used everything that was in the house and in the fridge to make dinner. And then for dessert, there was a plate of pot brownies.
Oh, no.
So we ate pot brownies, and then we started playing some board games. And then we had the munchies. And then there was nothing else in the house to eat but pot brownies.
And you can't order on Christmas unless, and it depends on what time was it at that point. So was there even a Chinese restaurant open at that point?
Probably that.
So you just ate more brownies, right? So you just exacerbated the problem. That's really a bad, terrible idea. That's a terrible idea.
Vicious cycle of pot.
Okay.
If you're making pot brownies, always make sure you have something other than pot brownies in the house to eat. Just like when you're making grilled cheese, when you've had pot brownies, make sure you first have cheese.
Words to live by, I guess. Words to live by.
If you've never seen the episode, if you on YouTube look up My Drunk Kitchen,
okay,
you'll learn about the benefits of grilled cheese without making cheese, without having cheese first.
So just fried bread?
I think she's like, so it's fried sourdough, tasty, but ultimately unsatisfying.
Yeah, I forgot to put cheese on my grilled cheese. It's not quite grilled cheese. It's just grilled bread, right? Yeah. That's it, isn't it?
First thing when having grilled cheese, first make sure you have cheese. Yeah. Noted for next time.
That's usually a good thing. You should always have the cheese.
Check it out. My Drunk Kitchen episode 1. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen on the net. Mostly because of the editing.
Was that drunk cooking or cooking drunk or what? There was a whole series that was that young woman.
Yeah, Hartel. Yeah.
Yeah, and it started by accident, right? I think, what happened was her boyfriend just broke up with her and she got drunk and turned on her camera and started cooking and all kinds of people started watching. So she did it again because it was, and then it became, and now she's done very well for herself.
She's on the Food Network now.
Yeah. She was the drunk chef or something like that, or?
Well, the show's called My Drunk Kitchen on the
Drunk Kitchen. Yeah. It's been on for 7 or 8 years now. It's been on.
I don't know if she's still making them because now she's on to other things. But she's on the Food Network, like judging competitions now and stuff. And
good for her.
Yeah,
good for her.
Yeah,
best breakup ever. Right? She turned it into a career.
Yes. It's like my last breakup when it was over. I was like, wow, the best 240 pounds I've ever lost. Anyway,
that's a good one. It's a good one. My mouth was open.
Black is slimming, but you know what's more slimming? Black is slimming, but you know what's more slimming, Mr. Grizzly?
What's that?
Losing a bad boyfriend.
I'll take your word
That's
for it.
extremely slimming. Anyway,
I'm putting a link in the chat of this website, and this fella's name, I'm going to screw it up. I don't know how it's pronounced. It's either Guy or Guy. I'm going to say Guy because he's in Vancouver, so probably Guy.
okay.
And his surname is spelled Felicella. So is it Felicella, Felicilla? I don't know how to pronounce it,
Okay.
but I ran across him on Twitter, and a really interesting individual. And I'll show you this tweet, and then I will I'll share the link in the chat of his website. Absolutely interesting individual. Here's the tweet. I saw this yesterday and went, wow, this is an interesting fella. And here's the tweet. I'm going to put it on the screen right now. Guy, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce Guy or Guy. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Felicella, I guess.
Felicella, I would think. Supervised consumption sites don't enable, in quotation marks, drug use. They provide health care for people who are already using drugs. You shouldn't have to be drug-free to access health care. My last overdose was at booth 5, and now I'm over a decade sober. That wouldn't be possible without harm reduction. And here's a picture of the fella standing in front of booth 5 at a site in the Couve in Vancouver. So I'm putting the link to his website in the chat right now. Go check out his website. Fascinating individual. Led an interesting life, and he really is an advocate for change and for helping people. And he's kind of, I think I'd love it if we
We
could
should reach
get him
out.
on the show to talk
Yeah,
to him,
absolutely. We
because
should reach out.
yeah, he's absolutely the kind of individual that we want as part of our community. Let's help each other, right?
Yeah, no, because I've been wanting to do a show on that, and I've been trying to think about who I could call, and I was thinking about people from the HIV/AIDS legal network,
Oh yeah, yeah,
because they take care of that. But this would be, I mean, you'd have two different perspectives. Clearly, one
yeah.
right
Of course.
this, but this would be much more personal.
Yeah, and like check his website out. I put it in the chat. Anybody wants to check it out, I suggest you do. Absolutely fascinating, interesting individual, and he's got the about page talks all about. He grew up in a middle class home in BC, but due to trauma, undiagnosed ADHD and difficulty at home and school, he fell into addiction at a young age. Spent 30 years in the repeated cycle of gangs, addiction, treatment, and jail. I mean, this guy has led a life, and now he has turned it all around and is helping people. So, sure,
Yep.
full
Yep.
respect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, you have any other things you'd like to talk about, Mr. Grizzly, today?
Well, I did watch the hockey game last night, and
Ooh, yes.
and I'm not cheering for the Toronto Maple Leafs because, well,
Yep.
right. But
Right.
here's the thing: I do want to see a good series, and this series has gotten interesting. First game, Toronto lost 7-3. Second game, Toronto
Yep.
won 7-2. They had 3 fights in the game. A fight in the first period in the first 10 minutes. Tampa Bay is they came to play, and last night they showed the hits. The hit ratio was, I think, Tampa out hit Toronto, and then they started 3 fights. I think this is going to be a very interesting series. 2 games in, and it's been a flip flop already on the victories. So 14, what do we got? 19 goals scored in 2 games.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
None of those goaltenders are vying for the goaltending MVP award, right?
No, clearly not. So this series is going to be very interesting, and I think Tampa Bay, because they do have some talented players, but they're not the team that won the Stanley Cup in 2020 or 2021,
Mhm.
which was, I remember watching the 2021 series against Montreal, and I'm like, sorry, I really want Montreal to win the series to bring the cup back to Canada. It's been a long time, and it would be
Mhm.
good for. And I even spoke to Montreal fans, and they're like, they can't beat Tampa Bay. They were just too good.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay had 4 first lines. There was not a weakness on the team
Mhm.
anywhere.
Mhm.
And they had the best goaltender on earth at the time. So
Yep.
it's like, I know Carey Price is Carey Price, but he's not. And I can't even remember the goalie's name.
Yep.
But they were such an unbelievable, unbeatable team. Now, that's not the same team because of
Mhm.
free agency and trades and so on and so forth. But I think they're trying to go the route of the Broad Street Bullies from the Philadelphia Flyers in the
Okay.
70s and just wear you down
Mhm,
because
mhm,
they can score a lot, but they'll beat the hell out of you. So it's like if we can't beat you on the ice, we'll beat you in the alley, which is old school, old time hockey.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Which, does it just detract from the game? Yes. Does it make for interesting playoffs? Oh yeah.
It's funny that you're saying that because without the fights or anything, but just the flip being script, the script being flipped. I am having trouble flipping. I'm influenced today.
The words aren't working. Wealth in the mouth today.
Yes, yes. Similar thing happened because the Jets beat the Golden Knights 5-1 in the first game, and then the Golden Knights beat the Jets 5-2 in the next game.
Yeah. So it's like, what the hell's going on?
Parallel scripts.
It's like, huh? What are you doing? What's going on? What happened?
I'm so easily confused.
Very much so. Yeah.
So that black bouncy thing goes into the thing with the mesh?
Is that where we put it? How am I supposed to do that frequently? I don't know how it works.
If you don't put the
I do believe if each one of those fellows had one of those little black things, they'd all enjoy the game much better. It was
they
actually a
seem to,
comment I
everybody
heard.
seems to want one.
It was a comment I heard once, and I'm like, "You don't even know anything about football, do you?"
That's like when
Wait
I
a
was
minute,
on
wait a minute. What's that?
that's like when I was on French Reach for the Top as a kid,
Mhm.
right? Like this, and then my foster father looks at me and says, "Why aren't you letting anybody else answer?" I was like, "Okay, you didn't understand the concept, did you?"
It never mind. Just no,
Why are
no.
you always on the screen? That's like,
De rien, mon ami, de rien, de rien, de rien, de rien. No, 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 no. De rien, de rien.
it's the parents you like parents like they're always proud of you, but they don't understand what it is that you really do.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
one of those situations. What do you do?
Yeah.
I do this. Is that good? Yeah. Okay. Well, we're still
Well,
proud
we're
of you.
very proud of you. What's one of my favorite lines from any movie ever in history was spoken by the late Philip Seymour Hoffman in the classic 2000 film Almost Famous, when he
Mm,
portrays the part of rock and roll's greatest critic, who has
right.
long since passed away. And it was interesting that they chose Philip Seymour Hoffman to play the role because they looked nothing alike.
Okay.
Like they could not look more different. The role he was playing, the critic that he was portraying was 6'2" and probably weighed about 130 pounds. Like he was tall, thin, gaunt, had black hair. He almost looked goth, but he wasn't goth. Had black curly hair. That's not Philip Seymour Hoffman at
Mm-mm,
all. Like not at
mm-mm,
all.
mm-mm.
But he was such a spectacularly talented actor that he auditioned for the role, and they're like, "Yeah, it's yours." Sometimes you're just that good. You
Yep.
can't see anybody else playing the role. Kind of like the Joker by the late.
Heath Ledger.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I mean, what's his name? Jake, was it Gyllenhaal?
Yep.
Yeah, he did a very good job
Yep.
in his version of the Joker.
Yep.
But he did a great job. He
He
did.
did a great job. I watched that movie and I thought, wow, that's what a descent into mental
Yes,
is exactly like, right?
but Heath Ledger so disappeared into that role that I
Mm,
did not see Heath Ledger.
yeah.
Right. In Brokeback Mountain, great film, and he was fantastic in that role, but I could still see Australian Heath Ledger in
He
it.
is very pretty. So,
Right. Whereas when he played the Joker, nope, there was
mm,
no sign of Heath Ledger at all. He
mm.
was so brilliant in that. So, same thing with Philip Seymour Hoffman. And the role in the film, he has this
Yes.
line.
Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix. Sorry. Yeah. Jen's
Joaquin,
right. It was Joaquin Phoenix.
thank you, thank you. No, Joaquin Phoenix played
The
the
Joker.
Joker in the recent film. I'm
Yeah.
talking about. I'm talking about the other one in Suicide Squad. Jake Gyllenhaal played the Joker
Oh,
in that film.
okay. That one.
Yeah, not the Joaquin Phoenix, not the most recent one, but the other one.
Okay. Okay. I was
So
talking about
Jen,
the Joaquin Phoenix one that was the
no,
descent
no, no,
into.
no. I meant the Suicide Squad one where Jake Gyllenhaal. So Jen, there's
Okay.
just a mix up there. I know my pop culture. I know my pop culture. Anyway, the line in the film, Almost Famous, that the character, the main character in the film, the name of the character is escaping me, but it was basically Cameron Crowe. He was writing about his life, and he says, "Oh yeah," he goes, so I guess you're the cool kid in school." He goes, "No, nobody. They all hate me." He goes, "Ah, yes, you're fair weather friends. They'll all meet you again on their long journey to the middle." I love that line. Love that line. I think it's so brilliant. "Ah, yes, those fair weather friends. You'll all meet them again on their long journey to the middle." It's perfect, right? Isn't it
Yeah,
just perfect?
and that is perfect. That's a that's a
Yeah, it's like the
that's a
cool
that's
kids.
a memory board moment there.
Well, it's a weird way. It's a very strange way of saying, "Ah, yeah, they peaked in high school," right?
Yeah, pretty much.
They peaked in high school. Yeah. They'll meet you on their long journey to the middle. I love that line so much. And the way he delivered it was just such a Philip Seymour Hoffman way, You're right, Jen. He did have the best lines in that movie. And that's
Yeah.
one of my favorite films because it really did. If you're a fan of rock and roll, as you know I am with all the music shows I do,
Mhm.
it captured the 70s in a way that I've not seen in a rock and roll film before, ever. And it was because Cameron Crowe lived that life. That basically
Right.
is his autobiography. He
Mhm.
was a rock journalist for Rolling Stone magazine in the early 70s when he was 15 years old and in high school. That
Okay.
actually took place.
Yep.
And he followed around, basically Almost Famous is the with a few line changes here and there, the story of when he followed Foghat on the road and wrote an article for them in Rolling Stone magazine when he was 15. For those
Mhm.
of you who didn't know. So there's a little bit of rock and roll history for you. All right, sir. Shall we get to
And was Kate Hudson in that, if
Yes,
I
she
remember correctly?
was. That was the
Yeah.
one that made her a star.
Yeah.
She'd done some stuff prior to that, but that was the one that made her a star. And she
Yeah.
was brilliant in that role as Penny Lane. You know who else was in that? Who played the part of his sister?
Oh.
That adorkable girl from New Girl?
Oh, Zoe.
Zoe.
Zoe. Zoe or
Zoe.
Zoe? Zoe.
Zoe. Zoe.
Deschanel. Yes.
Zoe Deschanel, yeah. And her sister used to
Yes.
be on Bones.
Yes.
Emily Deschanel.
Emily.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, it's funny how how you change your hair and you change your how you look. Like me, I put a hat on, I look completely different than without a hat. Like I
Right.
completely look like it. Zoe Deschanel, I saw a photo of her recently and she didn't have her bangs or her glasses on. I'm like, well, I don't know who that is, but she's really attractive.
Yeah.
Oh my
I've seen
God.
one photo. Yeah. I've never seen her without bangs except for that one photo. I was like, wow, that's Zoe Deschanel. Really? Okay. Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jen. Lester Bangs, thank you. I couldn't remember his name for a minute, but yes, the only true currency in this bankrupt world is what you share with someone else when you're uncool. It's a brilliant line from that movie. And
Yeah.
Fairuza Balk was also in that movie,
Yeah.
who, by the way, Fairuza Balk is also Canadian.
I love her. She was,
Yeah.
I'm surprised she wasn't everywhere. I saw her in The Craft. Was
Yeah,
the first
she's
time I
been
saw
in a
her.
ton of films. She's been
She's
disappeared for a little bit, though.
Yeah, but she was the best thing in that by far. I mean, the movie was great, but she was the
Mhm.
best thing by far. I thought she was going to become huge after that.
Me too. Fairuza Balk sort of, somewhat, a little bit reminds me of
Mhm.
Biff Naked.
Yes.
They have a similar, like their
Yes.
features, their hair. There's a
Yes.
similarity there, right?
Yes.
I'm like Fairuza Balk should play Biff Naked in a role about Biff Naked's life because Biff's had a heck of a life.
Mhm.
She was born
Indeed.
in New Delhi,
Yep.
adopted, came to Canada. She only sees herself as Canadian, became a pop rock star, sort of a punk rock girl, beat breast cancer. I mean, she's a badass.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Spaceman was a massive hit for her. And I still love that song.
Me
Still
too.
love that song.
Still love it.
Yeah.
Because the other day I was just walking around the house singing "I Love Myself Today"
Mm.
for no apparent reason. It just like
So
popped in my head.
a couple years ago, she closed out Pride here just a
Yes.
couple of blocks away, right?
I
And
missed it. So
my
upset.
friend, well, my friend texted me. She's like, "Oh, did Biff's just taking the stage?" And I'm like, I was in a full blown anxiety attack. Why is it I have full blown anxiety attacks on the last night of Pride when the
Yeah,
best
really.
act? Yeah, weird, eh? Well, that's twice it's happened. It doesn't always happen, but twice it happened. I don't know. I think it's because it's late August. It's the end of summer, and as we go into autumn, I sort of get anxious about it because I don't know. There's something I got to figure out about that. I think it's the whole, and this is something I'll figure out with therapy, but I think it's the whole back to school thing and being a military kid. Every couple of years, I was in a new community, in a new school, the new kid. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
it, it takes a toll. It takes a toll.
I could see I could see it having something to do with that.
I think it might be, and overstimulated nervous system. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as Jen said in the chat there, I think it might have to do with that. It's like every year at Christmas, I got sick. Still to this day, by the time Christmas rolls around, I'm so physically exhausted. If anybody sneezes near me, it's like all of a sudden I've got a cold. Now I haven't, knock on
Mm.
wood, haven't been sick over Christmas in the last few years. Maybe it's because there's so much isolation up till that point, but. Yeah, no, I always got sick at Christmas, always, and I think it might be,
Mm.
and yeah, that too, Alan, because I also do battle against that. It's like I have all the letters,
SAD. Yeah,
SAD, ADHD, OCD. It's like I'm a member of the alphabet mafia, but I'm not a member of the alphabet mafia.
just the wrong letters.
Just different letters, different letters.
But we accept everyone, so come on over.
Well, it was when I had a conversation with somebody. Well, I was at the bar talking to my friend, and somebody leaned in because they heard what I was saying, and they only caught a snippet of what I was saying. And they leaned in and looked at me and said, "Excuse me, I'm a member of the I am LGBTQ." He didn't say I'm a member of the community. He just said I'm LGBTQ, and I just looked at him and I went, "All of the letters? How is that
At the
possible?
same time?
All of the letters is." I could, the Q and the T, sure. Maybe the B, why not? But LG, you can't be both of those things. Could you be both of those things? And then I went, and he sort of looked at me and went, "You're being a dick." I'm like, "No,
Yes.
I'm being pedantic because what you said didn't make sense to me." And I think one of the reasons I'm very pedantic all the time is because I literally do have comprehension issues when somebody says something to me very mixed up like that. I'm like, "What? I don't understand what you just said to me." So that's why I'm very pedantic. I think because it's the way my brain works.
Yep.
Anyway.
Oh, all right.
So that's that's what, 27 minutes of banter. Welcome. Hey, it's Friday. I'm working from home. So,
Right. Politically,
politically, yeah. What are we doing politically?
I don't have a specific theme today for us kids, to be totally honest. Uh, but I did listen to something the other day from which I have clips. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting. Um, David Hurley, who's a campaign organizer, believe he worked with Paul Martin and Kathleen Wynne, has a
Mm-hmm.
podcast called The Hurley Burley.
Yes.
Uh, really good show. Listen to it. And they get to do long form interviews like we do, not necessarily 2 hours or whatnot, but close to an hour, sometimes a little more. And sometimes you have he gets ministers because he was a campaign operative, so he's able to get politicians and ministers on the show, something we've not been able to do yet.
Working towards that. We'll
Working
get there.
towards that, yeah. And often, because of the format, and you'll hear it in one of the clips, the minister says on the show we get to do politics in full sentences, which I found interesting. Because every
That's
time you're in a
interesting.
scrum or in the House of Commons, like, to answer a question in the House of Commons, I think you got like 40 seconds or something, like a question period. You get a scrum or you got your little press thing, okay, I just have time for 5 questions and I got to go or something. But this one, he says, talks about doing politics in full sentences. And often on the show, you see a certain side of ministers or you hear them speak and you think, wow, they're really on top of that. So he's had interviews with Minister Anand, which we all know that she's extremely impressive, but get her alone for an
Yeah.
hour and let her like talk on stuff. Holy moly.
See, now
Seamus,
she's even
Seamus,
hotter to me now. And I know
yeah.
that's a terrible thing to say, but I find her brilliant mind to be sexy as all get out.
Oh yeah. And then you have Seamus O'Regan. If you ever listened to full, get him for full.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he is on top of it,
Oh
Jonathan
yeah.
Wilkinson, the minister of current, I think, minister of environment or natural resources now. I think, yeah, now natural resources, but formal environment. He's the one that set up the carbon plan and everything, and now is doing the resources stuff as Stephen Guilbeault has taken over the environment stuff. Listen to him in an interview. He knows his stuff because he comes from a clean energy,
Oh yes.
right? The
Right.
clean sector, like this. Who's an environment minister that worked in industry and business that came from that sector. So you can't pull one over. You can't pull a fast one on him. He knows his
Which
stuff.
good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
But you listen to him, you get him for an hour, and it's like this man just he'll
He,
blow your mind with what
he's
he
on
knows.
top of it.
Yeah. Um, Randy Boissonneau was a guest recently, the Minister of Tourism, a Liberal MP from Alberta, one of the two.
Yeah, I was going to say there's like two, right?
Yeah, Shahal and him, openly gay.
Oh wow. So liberal from Alberta, openly gay. Okay, hang on. I'm just going to
With
put
the
that
last
on
name Boissonneau.
I'm going to put that on the scorecard right here because he's hit all the.
Yeah, and he won, then lost in 2019, and won again in 2021.
Wow.
Okay. What a great interview.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and then you talk like Minister of Tourism, right? Okay. Let's talk about
except
right.
except that's billions of dollars worth of economic spin-offs, right?
Absolutely, it is.
It's a big file, and it should be.
There's almost nothing about tourism in the whole interview.
Mm.
He's talking about trade. He's talking about green credits. He's talking about economy. He's talking about.
So he's plugged in.
He is plugged in. He knows. And I was just listening, and like there are 5 in the space of in between, like minutes 15 and minutes 32 of the interview. I found 5 incredibly quotable. I was writing them down to read them,
Oh wow.
and they're just like 2 or 3 minutes long.
Oh wow.
That's a lot of stopping and writing. So I just said, let's just
Let's
show
just
the
air
damn
it.
clip. Okay. I was really, really impressed with this man. So the first clip here that I'm going to show you is they're talking about the budget and the affordability measures on the budget.
How long is the clip?
This clip will be, hold on.
I need 55 seconds to reheat a mug of coffee in
Okay,
my
go do that.
microwave.
Go
That's
do
what
that.
I'm getting at.
Yeah, you will get 55 seconds. You will get
Okay.
55 seconds.
So I'm not
about
doing
3
it until
minutes.
you give me the link to share so I can put it on the screen.
Okay.
And
All
then I'll
right.
put it up. I desperately need another cup of coffee.
Okay. Then let me just do that right here. And I just wanted to, the reason I'm showing this to you kids is not only because there's a lot of information here that I think you should know, that I was going to take the notes, the particular data points, and actually mention them on the show, but he includes them in there. But it's the formulation of the answer and his poise and his personality and just the whole package together. So when you see like you only get to see them for 15, 30 seconds and people are yelling things at them and they're like, this is what these people bring to the table when we're talking about the quality of our ministers.
So what you're saying is, and I'm going to preface this in how I will occasionally say this and go, I'm not gay, but I would spend quality time with that man. Is he going to do that to me in this clip? Is he going to do that?
Intellectually, he probably will in this whole series of clips. Yeah.
See, well, I'm attracted to somebody's brain more so than their body because I have met and been set up on dates with ridiculously beautiful women who unfortunately, sadly, didn't have a thought in their head. And I ended up dating their friend who, by most people's measurement, would say, she's not nearly as attractive as her roommate. And I go, yeah. Did you speak to her? Because I spoke to her, and she is the hottest thing I've seen. You get it? Like, what do they say? Sapiosexual?
Yep. Sapio or sapio, but I don't remember. But I'll say probably sapio.
Sapio.
I like long vowels, so I always say sapio, but I've never heard anybody say the word, so I don't know.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody say it either.
I've only seen it
read
written.
it. Yeah.
So, like we say all the time when somebody mispronounces the words because they read it, right?
Precisely.
Yeah. All right, so let's put it up here and let's take a look at our good friend Randy Boissonneau.
Well, right now I'm just seeing a mirror of us. If I put that on the screen, it's going to look weird. You know what? I'm going to put it on the screen for a
Why
second.
is that going? No. Okay.
That's what we look like. Ah!
That's really weird. Okay, because on my screen it's showing something else. Let's try that again.
Yeah, you had the wrong
There we
screen.
go. How
There we
about that?
go. All right. Yeah, I can see that. So I'll put it up here and you hit play and I will mute my mic and turn up my speaker so I can hear it.
All right.
So the budget was positioned as being, among other things, about affordability. And the affordability measures are pretty modest in there. By the government's own admission, very targeted at certain income groups and not broadly based. Can you just give me a flavor of what was the considerations that you were going through when you were deciding what the affordability package could look like?
Sure, and I do love your show, David, because you allow people to, practice politics in full sentences. Like, there's no 30-second question period answer here, or even something that I can put.
Yeah, we've lost sound. There's no sound. It stopped. I don't know what happened. We can't hear you either. Check your computer settings. The audio just died. We'll try and replay that clip in a minute or two once you recover from it. So check all the settings on your audio. The bottom screen.
The sound just disappeared?
Yeah. Oh, and you're back. We've got sound. Yeah, the sound just disappeared completely. So
Oh.
let's re-roll the clip. And
okay. Hold on. I'm going to turn off my audio for a second till I reset it to the spot.
Yeah.
You
Go
can
ahead.
talk for a little bit. I'm so sorry about that, kids. I didn't know that the sound went out.
Yeah, it died completely. I was sitting because I was listening in the kitchen while the microwave was going, and I'm like, "Where'd the audio go?" And I came in, and I'm like, "Yeah, there's no sound." I thought maybe my computer froze or something. Nope, there was no sound. And while you're doing that, I'm going to read a little headline here for you that people might not be aware of, but I think we'll all take a certain amount of joy in this. A federal judge in Wisconsin ruled Wednesday that a wrongful death lawsuit filed by the father of a man shot and killed by Kyle Rittenhouse, murdered, during a protest in 2020 can proceed against Rittenhouse police officers and others.
Yes.
I believe we call that the
Yes.
slow wheels of justice.
Yes. The wheels of justice grind infinitely slowly and infinitely fine.
And wow, do they come for you when they come for you, right? Well, thanks, Jen.
Oh,
Thank you.
Jen, that's wonderful. Don't apologize. TNEB has the best audio on Crier.
Oh, really? Like seriously?
I did not know that.
Sound guy. So
I know.
I work very hard. That's why we're always improving, buying new mics. But I gotta have the proper gear to make us sound like we should sound.
You've just made Mr. Grizzly very, 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 very happy, Kid Jen. He's dancing in his chair.
You have no idea. You have no idea how happy that makes me.
That's the
I'm
ultimate
dead serious.
compliment.
It really is. It is. I'm an audio guy, right? That's what I do. So it makes me very happy. Thank you.
All right. I'm all set up. See, and I'm not an audio guy. That's why the sound went out.
Okay. And is the volume, you might have to turn the volume up on the YouTube video as well, if you can crank it to its max.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay. And let me know when you're ready. Good to go?
I'm ready.
All right. Here we are. Let's try this.
Okay, and I'm going to start with the question again, so I apologize for the repeat, but there you go.
Okay.
So the budget was positioned as being, among other things, about affordability. And the affordability measures are pretty modest in there. By the government's own admission, very targeted at certain income groups and not broadly based. Can you just give me a flavor of what was the considerations that you were going through when you were deciding what the affordability package could look like?
Sure. And I do love your show, David, because you allow people to, practice politics in full sentences. Like there's no 30-second question period answer here, or even something that I can put on a tweet. It was really clear that right now we had to land this budget between two goalposts, back to your Elks analogy and your Riders analogy. Well, number one, AAA credit rating. Okay. We had to preserve the AAA credit rating, in part because we've got debt, and we talked about the debt before. And we do have the lowest borrowing charges on the most recent debt in Canadian history. But it's not just about the AAA credit rating from a debt servicing charge perspective. It's from that badge says to foreign direct investors that these are good economic managers. And so it's us, it's the UK, it's us, United States, Germany, Netherlands, Australia, part of the AAA credit rating club. That's goalpost one. Goalpost two is do no harm on inflation. Because last year, 8.1, too high. Now 5.2, too high. Tiff's Macklem's got a job to get inflation to between 0 and 2%, which I still think is achievable. And we can't put so much stimulus into the economy that he's going to go jack the rates. That would be politically foolish, but morally and economically extremely unwise. And so, look, if you take a look at the grocery rebate, $2.5 billion in isolation, yeah, it's a small ticket item. But take a look at the $13 billion on dental over the frame, or the fact that we did $30 billion in childcare in budget 21 to literally change the way that we have participation of women in the workforce. Right. I've got some numbers for you. Before that program, 69% of Canadian women were in the workforce, adult women. The US was at 77. Our numbers as of a month ago, 85.7% of adult Canadian women in the Canadian workforce within 2 years. That's the difference that childcare makes. And so those are the two frames. Those are the two goalposts. Okay. So, and the other thing is, if you go back to like Jean-Yves Duclos, I will remember this man. He's my doppelganger. He's a head taller than me, and media sometimes swap our name, but he was the architect of the Canada Child Benefit. Like in my riding of Edmonton Center, and this riding right here of Kelowna Lakeshore, $40 to $50 million comes in every year, goes right into the pockets of parents with families, and guess where that money stays? Locally. And so that for me is the kind of, if you take a look at the whole arc of our time in government, those are the affordability measures that we put on the table. And look, people are nervous.
There you go.
Wow. He is dialed in. He knows what he's talking about.
Okay. All that data, all those facts in about 2.5 minutes.
That's crazy.
But presented in a manner that's completely digestible.
Dude, I would vote for that guy. Seriously. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. And it's not even his file.
Not even his file.
So this is a guy who gives a damn. This is what we want in government. People who are connected to all the files. That they, it's not his file, but he's going to pay attention to all of them. And as we've mentioned on this show in the past, because the $8 a day daycare that started in Quebec, 25 years ago?
It was 5 when it started.
Pardon?
It's 8. It's about 8 now, I think, but it was 5 when it started. $5 a day daycare.
Oh yes. No, I meant 25 years ago it started.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So the economic study that they looked at, because they're like, how can we afford this? Turns out we can't afford not to. It puts back something like, what is it? Is it 5-fold or 7-fold? I can't remember. More into the economy than we ever pay out. Because all of the women that have been able to get right back into the workforce. Well, like he said, we were at 69%. The US was at 77%. And of course, because they don't have things like maternity leave and healthcare, you have to go to work in the United States of America. Anyway, but now we're at 85%. And that's because we have a 7-fold. Thank you, Jillian. I thought it was somewhere in that neighborhood. So yeah, it's been proven to be an economic benefit for all of society. So that's when I say, look, who do I write the check to?
And conservatives don't want that.
Of course not. They want to
Oliver
keep us.
Said he would cancel childcare.
They want to keep us dumb and uneducated, which is why they're against post-secondary education that is not turning a profit.
But they're for the economy.
Yeah, bullshit.
They don't want to educate people. They don't want to keep people healthy. They don't want to pay for childcare. They don't want to cover dental care, but they're for the economy.
Well, as
If you don't have a population that's healthy and educated, you don't have much of an economy.
as our friend, and I'm going to name drop here, but as our friend Charles Adler told us when he was on this show, these people are not progressive and they're not conservative.
No.
They believe in nothing that conservatives held dearly. They are conservative in name only. CINO, they're chinos.
Mm-hmm.
Conservative in name only. They are not progressive and they are not conservative. They are reforms. And all they want is Christo-fascism. And I know people get mad at me when I say that, but here's the thing. I've never been proven wrong on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to be right on that one. I wish I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was wrong on that one because they really hate us.
Yeah. The Quebec child care program started in 1997.
Okay, so 26 years.
That's how long it took the rest of us to figure that out.
Yeah. And who was it? Do you remember the name of the minister who tabled the idea originally? Because I don't recall. I honestly can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember. Either way, this was somebody who did their homework and realized, look, if we do this, if we spend a little bit of money here in just a couple of years' time, look at what it can do for us.
Well, Mulroney had promised it in his 1984 campaign.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. I'm watching. I'm looking at Wikipedia right here. A national daycare system was one of Brian Mulroney's promises in his 1984 Canadian federal election campaign. He unsuccessfully attempted to pass Bill C-144, which would have, quote, shifted federal provincial responsibilities for daycare and allowed for direct funding of commercial daycare centers. By 1992, the Conservatives caucus shifted their focus from childcare to child poverty in response to a national survey.
Okay, and again, and I had my issues with Brian Mulroney, but progressive conservative, an actual progressive, tabled that in 1984. Like, holy crap. And what a shame that didn't go through, because you realize the economic spin-offs and the situation Canada would be in right now if we'd had that program for that long.
And here's the thing about Canada I don't understand, right? We could have had childcare as early as in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
We could have had the green shift as early as when Dion.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things we ended up doing eventually.
Yeah.
We could have had reconciliation. We could have had Kelowna Accords could have started the same time we could have had childcare again with Ken Dryden when he was the Minister of Human, and we let that. So twice. Imagine, had we started childcare back in the 80s, had the Kelowna Accord gone through, had childcare or childcare even gone through then, but the Kelowna Accord gone through at that point, and had we done the green shift then, imagine where we'd be now.
And who are we held up by? Those Laurentian elites just want to take your money and raise your taxes. No, they're actually going to improve your life. Now, don't get me wrong.
They're going to take a healthy cut for themselves along the way. Yes.
There are Laurentian elites who are only in it for themselves, just like there are conservatives and reformers who are only in it for themselves. I get that. There's always badness in every single party. I'm not saying that the be-all, end-all of society would be a Liberal Party forever. I am not advocating for that. As I've said it many times in the past, and you are completely in lockstep with me on this one, we want to see a healthy, progressive, conservative party in opposition in this country. We don't have that right now. We don't have that. We haven't had that for a long time, and we need to get it back, because a healthy, progressive, conservative, i.e. Joe Clark, Brian Mulroney, progressive conservative party is good for Canada, because they still have Canadians and the welfare of Canadians as their goal, their rule, their consideration. It's like they want what's best for Canada and Canadians, whereas what we have right now is not that at all. Not that at all. And,
right.
It hurts everybody in the end.
Okay.
It only benefits a few.
Yeah. I've got the second clip from Randy Bosno where he's talking about future economic opportunities.
Okay. Let's roll it.
All right.
On the other side of that is nothing but opportunity. Like, I don't know. I'm assuming you listened to President Biden's speech in the House.
I did.
He's got the U.S. military putting money into Canadian companies to go and help us find, extract, and eventually refine critical minerals, because this computer might have, 20 grams of rare earth minerals. My phone, 8 grams of rare earth minerals in it. The average EV car, a kilogram of critical minerals in it. And guess who has more than Asia combined? All of Asia combined, we do. So selenium, palladium, words that I didn't know before I was in this job, lithium, and we're going to go and get those, and it's billions of dollars to do it.
You could have just made all those words up, and I wouldn't be able to fact check you, by the way.
Look, there's 39 of them. Canada's got 13 of the most critical, and there was this article, I think it was in the Edmonton Journal just yesterday, this guy that's from Saskatchewan, splits his time between Saskatchewan and the US, and he said, Western Canada, you were sitting on $1 trillion and it's not oil and gas. And he went into the whole reason why he is buying companies, he is making investments because he sees that future. And that's what the rest of this budget is about, David. It's making sure that we stay on the train to the 21st century. And it's about jobs, but it's about careers. So,
well,
not his file.
Wow. Talk about being connected. Like dialed in, ready to roll. Let's make this happen, right?
Like I said, I'm just listening to this. I was like doing groceries, and I had it in my headphones. Like I said, I can't take notes at the time.
Yeah.
I actually had to come back home and listening to all again to find the timestamps. So this is the third time in 24 hours that I'm listening to him say these things. And it's just as impressive the third time.
Wow. Like dudes dialed in. I like it. I love it.
All right. Let's go for one more over here. I will set it up. Sorry, I pressed a button. It was already set up and didn't need to do that. All right.
Ready to roll?
You ready to roll?
Okay.
First of all, I have a weirdly specific question for you on the affordability stuff, and it's because I care about it. And that is food insecurity. And there was an expectation in some quarters that there might be a school food program in the budget because it's been promised by the government. It's in a mandate letter, and food insecurity has obviously been badly exacerbated during first COVID and then this inflationary period. Why did you decide not to move on something like that?
So I'm going to give you the long form answer, and I won't BS you ever. Because that's not who I am. We had to make some hard choices in this budget, and I'll give you a sense of the scope, David. This is, if I do the rough math of just what cabinet asked us for, okay, not what all the stakeholders and everybody else wanted. What's in the budget is 1/10 of the ask. So we're talking like north of 400 billion worth of asks now to people, my colleagues, who got nothing in this budget, and there's a lot of them. And to people whose mandate letters are not yet fulfilled. The supply and confidence agreement that we have with the NDs means that we have 4 more budget documents, right? We've got fall economic statement 23, budget 24, fall economic statement 24, and budget 25. My sense is that we will be able to make good on this promise with the school food program and others. And we had to just keep it narrowed this time so that we didn't stoke inflation, because the people you're talking about are most affected by inflation. I want to see school kids fed too. That's why we leaned in on the dental piece, right? Because look, you shouldn't be able to tell how much money somebody makes by the quality of their smile. Like we could tell at school. Like I had bad teeth growing up. My parents didn't have enough money for the dental stuff. I know what that feels like. And I don't want to know how much money somebody makes because their kids didn't go to the dentist. That's not fair. And we are a more compassionate society than that. Like coming from Saskatchewan with, Tommy and the fundamentals of the healthcare system, it's a piece we missed. And so we're tacking it on now.
Okay, so let me come right at you.
So there you go. I was wondering about that as well.
See this comment right here from Ree? I'm going to read it out for those who are listening. Thanks. We need a school food program. However, provinces can do something too. Tim Houston, who is the premier for Nova Scotia, for those of you who are listening in other parts of the country and are unfamiliar with his name, refused to implement any program before there is a federal one. He's using children's empty stomachs as a bargaining chip. I believe we, in the common vernacular, would refer to this guy as a raging, gaping asshole. But that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But you tell me. What do you think?
Seems like a dick move.
You think?
Yeah. We really want to help children, but you first.
That's like the and I'm sure there are people in the chat who have lived this experience, and if you have, feel free to put your hand up and say so, and if you want, share with us what your experience was. That was when mom and dad are going through a divorce and they decide to use the children as a bargaining chip.
Mm-hmm.
I
Or
have no respect for anyone who ever does that, ever. Like,
or
no.
and the other thing I don't respect is the politicians who pull a Whitney Houston. I believe the children are our future. Well, they're here now too, so feed them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the children aren't only the future.
We
Okay.
need to keep them alive so that they'll have a future.
So I was like,
Oh, and Jim, you've nailed it right here. You've nailed it right here. You give us
Yes.
money, we'll take credit for the food program.
Yes.
Kind of like how good old Dougie Ford tried to take credit. We got the child care benefit done. No, you didn't, Doug. You waffled on that until the 11th hour. Literally, it was going to expire, within an hour or so? Maybe I'm off by a little bit, but literally, it was going to expire, and you finally signed on. You used children's welfare as a bargaining chip. And yeah, Jillian, I'm still mad about that.
Me too.
And I'll never forget. I know, look, Jack Layton was a good man, but that was not cool.
He pulled
Not
childcare off
cool.
the table. He pulled Kelowna off the table.
Yeah.
Those were the two things I did not like about Jack Layton. The thing when he said that he would go to the wall on
Mhm.
corporate tax cuts, and then in the middle of the night slunk to Stephen Harper and said, "Hey, I'm willing to swallow myself whole on corporate tax cuts if you give us a couple of things in the budget, and then I'll this thing that I was planning to do with the other two, I won't do it anymore." And then making sure that the government fell so that Kelowna and childcare wouldn't fall through. And then, since then, the NDP on the campaign, you've been noticing every time they say that, they talk about, liberals keep on promising that they'll do childcare, but they never get it done. Yeah, because you wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah. Well, there was three things Jack did that I disliked. Those were two of them. And the third one was when he was being interviewed about a budget just before the budget was about to be released.
Yes.
And they asked him, will you support it? And he goes, no, I'm voting against it because it's Stephen Harper and I can't stand for anything. I'm like, whoa, dude, no, that's not how politics is done. Review the budget, and if it's crap, vote against it. But to literally say you're not going to support it right from the get-go, not cool. Not cool. I have no respect for that. It's like, wait a minute, you've already made up your mind on something. You're being prejudicial. You're bigoted towards this man's, and look, it probably would have been crap anyway, but review it. Give it the once over, right?
Go through the steps.
Well, and not only that, in all honesty, can you tell me that every budget that's ever come out, that 100% of it you disagree with? There's no way I could say that. There's too many elements to it. There's going to be some things that you're going to look at and go, this is good. I disagree with this, but I like this. And I wish we could have more bipartisanship in that sense. You know what? I support this thing in the budget, but this thing over here, we got to talk about this, guys, because this isn't cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's how politics was it ever done like that? I think there might have been a time when there was a little bit of that. Maybe. I mean, John Robarts, the greatest premier that ever held that position in the province of Ontario, built Ontario into what it is. Built it into the economic powerhouse. Created. Sorry, I'm blanking out right now. But multiple programs that have benefited this province. He made Ontario Place happen. Like, he was a good man, and what was he? Progressive conservative.
Yep, indeed.
And I'll bet you he's spinning in his grave right now at about what's happening to Ontario Place.
Jeez, yes.
If he could rise up as a zombie and come and slap the shit out of Doug Ford, he would.
Now, before we move to the next clip of Randy Bongino pretty much just blowing my mind, I forgot to say hello to the kids this morning.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yes. Good morning, Kit Elaine, Kit Jillian. Lovely to see you. Kit Dan, and I've been seeing your comments in the chat. So good morning to you, and thank you for sharing. We really appreciate that. Good morning, Kit Jim. Lovely to see you as always. Good morning, Kit Jen. You lovely, beautiful soul. Miss Sadeka, how are you? And Mohan is here too. Please say hello to Mateo for us. Good morning, Mateo.
Hey, little buddy, how you doing? Okay, I got to block some people here that are spamming us.
Yes.
They're spamming us on Twitch, so you know
All
what?
right.
The kids can't see it. I'm going to leave it for now. It's just on Twitch; they can't see it. So,
All right. Good morning, Kit Gale, as well. Lovely to see you joining us. Thank you very much. And if I happen to have missed out, Savage Wiener. I
hey
love
Tim,
that name.
how's it going, brother? Good to see you.
Yes, Tim as well. So lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday. We're really happy that you're here with us. All right. Our next clip of Randy Boston. Oh, and of course, Kit Saucy Sea Witch. You can't forget Kit Saucy Sea Witch. Absolutely not. The next clip of Randy Boissonneau blowing my mind right out of the water. I believe in this one, he is talking about things having to do with labor.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's put it all up there. Okay. Oh, make sure the volume's up. There you go.
I'm not around the SACA governance table. That's Pablo and Dominic and Ruby, Sahota, and then into 3 New Democrats. But I can tell you it's definitely an alignment of interest. And look, we wouldn't have had a 27 item agreement if we didn't think we could do it together, right? And so, I mean, there are things like, replacement workers that make sense to us. So it's on the list. Like there are issues with labor. And look, I was with 17 labor leaders, and Gil McGowan introduced me. I ran against Gil in 2015. And there he is saying, look, the libs have delivered. They delivered on dental. They delivered on the prevailing wages in the tax credits. And so I actually think that what you have here is a moment in time when, look, let me go back, because I remember the Sunday night when we all got convened on cabinet to have this conversation. And I'm like, it's a Sunday night. What the hell are we having a cabinet meeting for? And okay, so I'm in my office, like, and the PM's there, and he's got this, glint in his eye, and he's like, we're about to announce an agreement with the Democratic Party that will, stabilize this government until 2050. And I'm like, in my mind, already doing the countdown that I've got a year left in my job, and I've got to do all my mandate letters. And I just went, like, masterstroke, like, reform the Senate, pretty awesome, right?
Right.
I talked to 1 million Canadians during the campaign, pretty awesome. But this, at a time, remember where we were. We were just getting through the convoy.
Yeah.
We were facing down the beginning of the war in Ukraine. And everybody on my doorstep is like, there's just too much craziness going on. We're still coming out of COVID. And this just took all the anxiety. Like, I felt the temperature change in Parliament Hill. Yeah. And I said to my team, get me to the most New Democrat part of my riding, because I'm going to go knock doors when I'm home on Saturday. And I went and I asked them, I said, what do you think? And they all did this. Like, we sent you, give me a thumbs up. They said, we send you to Ottawa to get things done. We don't want to see an election in the next year. Go do your job, deliver for us, and act like adults and work together. Whether you're federal, provincial, municipal, work together. And so that's, I think, where we've landed. And look, are these hard conversations? You better believe they are. Are they tense conversations? Absolutely. But are they constructive, and do we get to the right place? So far, yes.
So labor and the confidence and supply agreement together.
I'm kind of man crushing on that guy right now.
Isn't he great?
We gotta get him as a guest. We gotta get him on the show and let him know, how much time do you want? Well, I have lots to talk about. No problem. We'll give you as much time as you want. We'll give you as much time as you want. I want him on this show. I'm crushing on that guy.
So as much as we complain about the Mary Ings and the Jeanette Petitpas Taylors and the Stephen Guilbeaus who can't seem to communicate their way out of a paper bag, then you get the Randy Boissonneaus and the Seamus O'Regans and the Jonathan Wilkinsons and the Anita Anans, the Carla Qualtros and the Karina Goulds, Chrystia Freelands, and there are Jean-Yves Duclos. Just there are very few duds in this cabinet.
And you have to consider too, look, I've talked about it and I've said it in the past, you have to be a bit of a narcissist to even consider going into politics today. And as our friend Lachlan has said, he has said many times, and I completely agree with him on this, he said, I'm worried about the future for this country because the current political system, the vitriol, the hate that's being spewed. And look, we know who the rage farmer is, right?
Mhm.
I'm not even going to mention his name. I don't need to mention his name because I don't want his name in my mouth today. But as Locke has said many times, the concern is good people will not pursue political office because of the current climate. And that is a legitimate concern. So we need to count our lucky stars for the people that we currently have in position. And hopefully they stay there because that young man will get my vote. I know I don't live in his riding, so I can't vote for him, but emotionally, he's getting my vote because the guy's saying the right things, and he's
Mm.
obviously in touch with any file presented in front of him, and including the files that he doesn't even have his hand in. This is the kind of people you want in government, those who are fully engaged in their job, and he very clearly is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And got Kid Saucy going, Christopher Freeland's facial expressions are my favorite. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
You just watch her. She's like,
It's like, oh boy, are you in for it when she decides to speak?
it's just like questions like this. It's just let me at him. Let me at him. Let me at him. Like
Well,
she's got a little race car in her. It's just like, way to go.
well, and
Love
it's when I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, she's this, she's that," and I go, Vladimir Putin is afraid of her. I'm not making that up. It's a legitimate statement. That should tell you something. This woman has more backbone than most of humanity, and she's not afraid of anybody.
Nope.
I think she would make an incredible prime minister.
She really would.
I really do. And I've even talked to my buds, my Scotch and cigar club, most of whom, not all, most of whom are very staunch progressive conservatives, and they love her too. And they don't love everything she does, and I don't love everything she does, but they're like, no, that's a serious leader right there. That's a serious person, a serious leader, an intelligent individual who speaks 5 languages? Is it 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Something
exactly.
ridiculous. Yeah. All right. Our last Randy Wassano thing, like I said, and I'm sorry if this is becoming the Randy Boissonneau show, but I mean, it's just incredible. And this time he's talking about, because I liked this one in particular. I saved this one last because yesterday we had a little bit of concentration on the economy because we were busting up some myths, right? With that thing that you presented. Well, he's doing the same thing here as well, Mr. Grizzly. If you would.
1 second, sir. I'm just trying to log into my work computer.
All right. Make sure that the volume's up, and here we go.
I was nervous at 50% debt to GDP ratio during the pandemic. Like, think about it. Let me get the math right. We were 31% debt to GDP ratio heading into the pandemic. Yeah. And we literally mortgaged 20% of the country's wealth to get us through. Yeah. Was it the right thing? Yeah. 830,000 more jobs since the pandemic. We're at 112% recover, 126. The Americans are at 112. Mm-hmm. Like, we're seeing, look, even today, 35,000
of jobs that are recovered. You mean where?
Yeah. So we're at 126% of pre-pandemic job levels. The US are at 112. We had 35,000 jobs posted today, like for last month today, and most of them are private sector jobs. So where am I going with this? We're back down to now 43% debt to GDP ratio. And look, part of the fiscal frame is the anchor's been lifted because the economy shrank, and so the denominator's off, right? That happened in 2008. That happened in 2016. I think if we still see these strong growth numbers, you might see in the fall economic statement where that second year where the debt to GDP ratio is still off actually comes back into alignment. The other number to watch, David, and to your listeners, to the Hurley-Burleyites, is over the frame, no more than 1% of GDP. Why does that matter? Go back to the AAA credit group. USA right now, 5% of their GDP is their deficit this year, and they have a $13 trillion economy. Germany's at 3%. Australia is at 1.9%. And so we are the literally the best fiscal managers.
Well, the U.S. gets to break all the rules because they're the reserve currency of the
You
world,
got it.
right?
So that's
So
exactly right.
they're exempt from all the rules
Okay.
the rest of us have to play by, right?
Let's go to the EU then. So when we meet with Christine Lagarde, who's the head of the European Central Bank, and we walk her through the numbers, she's like, "Are you guys kidding me? Every member of the EU would give the shirts off their back to trade balance sheets. So keep doing what you're doing." I am a fiscal hawk. I'm an Albertan liberal. Look, you want to go all the way back, David? I paid money as a parliamentary guide to go to Calgary to support Paul when he was up against Jean. Like, that's how far back you got to go to find me. Like that's my DNA. And I think I got the job that I have because of that DNA. I am one of the wealth generators in cabinet. Like, go.
There you go.
I like this, man.
There you go. Tell you, he's a very impressive young man.
Dialed in. Dialed in.
Woo. Imagine that. And all of that, all of those little clips that I showed you were in between minute 15 and minute 32 and a half.
Wow.
Of that interview. And that interview went 58.
Wow. Here's an interesting comment from Jim. I'm going to put this on the screen. People who would be good at doing the job can make much more money other places. So for many, the incentive to be a politician comes from lust for power. And that is correct. And I don't even question that. But there are
community service.
Well, and that's where I was going. That was my next statement. He is correct. That is true. And I know a number of members of parliament who literally it's just power for them. That's how they don't give a damn about anything else. I also know other members of parliament who literally quit a much more lucrative private sector job where they actually earned a great deal more money, worked less hours, which some people may find that hard to believe, but members of parliament and their staff work, as you can attest, sir, insane hours. It is not for the faint of heart. And the reason they left private sector to pursue those positions was not because they have giant egos, but because they love this country and want to make it better for everyone. And I do know a number of people that are in politics for that very reason. So thankfully, there's still those people there. But like Locke has said time and time again, he's worried about the future because it's such a cesspool of vitriol and hatred and rage farming and that the concern is many people who would be really good at the job, who would do their public service, who would do it because they want to make life better for all of us, are no longer attracted to pursuing the position because of the cesspool that it currently is. And that is a very, very legitimate concern. And I feel I'm in lockstep with Lachlan on that one. That was not a play on words. That was just literally how it came together. And I am concerned for our future as a nation. That if the Skippy the Wonder Pigeon's rage farming continues the way, no matter what you do, he's always going to find fault with you. No, it doesn't matter what you do. We need to close the borders. We need to open the borders. We need vaccines. We don't need vaccines. Like the guy doesn't. Come on. Okay. What do we got here, folks? What do we got here? This is a crusty old flip-flop. I should send these because these are almost worn out. Oh, and by the way, these are the ones I was wearing when I was hit by a car in New Delhi. So I should send these. I should drop these in the mail and send them to his office and say, here's some flip-flops for you, you flip-flopper waffler. Send him a waffle iron, too, while we're at it, maybe. No, that's too much money. Just unless I can find a broken, beat-up one at Value Village for like $5. We'll send him a waffle iron and flip-flops. And here's the best part. You put it in the box, you put his name on it, and just drop it in the mail, and they'll deliver it. They'll x-ray the hell out of it. Is this a waffle iron? Are those flip-flops? They'll open it up. Yeah, those are flip-flops, and that's a waffle iron. Well, okay. Somebody sent them to him. We'll just give them to him. I want his office to be filled with flip-flops. Dirty, used up, old, walked on the beach, walk through the city streets, flip-flops. No postage required. And I know somebody's like, Paul, that's very childish of you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Guilty as charged.
Not going to deny it.
As I keep on saying, petty is my favorite color.
It's true.
Oh man. Let's talk about Andrew Scheer.
Oh, do we have to? I
Andrew
guess.
Andrew $cent here.
Mm. Mm. Yes.
Uh Andrew has been having and expressing many, I'm borrowing a page from Nate Pike here, thoughts
Thoughts. Mm.
on transparency of
Mm.
late. Um, should we have a little trip down Andrew Scheer memory lane?
Why not? Why not? Let's do this.
Yes. Mr. Grizzly, the money's gone. He's still there. We still don't know what the report said he did with it. He does. The report exists, but neither his party or nor we can see it.
Mm-hmm.
The Hill Times in April 2020, that's written really small.
Mm. I can't read that.
Yeah, okay, no, that's not the date of the article. There we go. February 10th, 2020.
Mm.
Conservative Party's National Council should share Scheer's expense audit report with party members, say some Conservative MPs and leadership candidate Gladue. I think that kind of transparency would certainly help people believe that the money is properly dispensed and properly governed, says Conservative MP and leadership candidate Marilyn Gladue. Senior Conservatives seething over Conservative Fund's refusal to share Scheer's $700,000 over-budget expense details with National Council. Quote, if you're a donor, why would you want to give money if you can't get straight answers on what the hell's going on, says veteran Conservative politician insider Tim Powers. Scheer should let Conservative Party's members see how his office spent $925,000. And
$925,000.
yes, Scheer's mea culpa not forthcoming, and that's the CPC leadership race's problem.
Mm.
Yes. Andy wants transparency.
But not for him. Not for me. No, don't look at me. Don't
Yes.
Not over here.
And,
Look over there. Not over here. Don't look here. Don't look here. Not here. Over there.
And Mr. Grizzly, let's again, hear some of Andrew's thoughts. Look how allergic the CBC is to transparency. The simple fact that Twitter informed its users that the CBC is government funded has sent them running away. Why is it a problem to disclose where the CBC gets its money from? And please be distracted by my dimples.
Well, and let's not forget, we already know this.
Dude.
It's not a secret.
You lost the election because you wouldn't be transparent about anything. We didn't know you had dual citizenship. We didn't know anything. Your resume seemed to be wrong. You wouldn't even come out and say, even though we all know it, but you wouldn't say in words that you actually are anti-abortion and anti-same-sex marriage. You would reveal nothing about yourself at all. You're going to talk to us about transparency? You.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the price you're paying to keep that report and how you handled that $700,000 hidden? Is this why you don't care what you look like when you're making these statements? The only reason you're still there, honey, is because you have the same problem as PP has. You're a career politician who's done nothing with her life before, has no other skills. You didn't even pass your insurance broker class. You don't even have that to go back to, that thing you put on your resume. You don't even have that to go back to because it wasn't there. You were George Santos before there was George frickin' Santos, dude. You're going to talk to us about transparency?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look behind this thing, there's a little sign language going on for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the volume's down.
Just
the volume's down.
Little sign language.
I'm pointing at my keyboard, but I've turned the volume down. Yeah, we could turn it up if we needed to, but I'm not going to turn it up today. I don't feel like doing that.
Seriously. Mini Vandy talking to us about transparency.
Thank you, Mohan. I think this is great. You spent your whole life not knowing a public broadcaster is publicly funded is not the flex she thinks it is. Right? Like, come on, man.
Oh yes,
And what was CBC's logo a couple of years ago? CBC, Canada's public broadcaster.
yes, yes.
It's not a
Right,
secret.
right. The advertiser, yeah. And you got to remember, Andrew Scheer, right? Remember this one from him?
Let's just put this up on the screen here. Needs to check the mirror before telling anyone else to check their privilege.
Remember when he told us to check our privilege?
Yeah.
The $925,000, the nearly $1 million man.
Mm-hmm. Well, nobody asked me if I had dual citizenship. Why would we?
The only thing for which he uses his biotic powers is to take another swan dive right into the trough. That's like.
Well, remember when he was the leader of the Reform Party, and they were campaigning, and all those strange videos where he was meeting people, where he would lean, like he wouldn't get close to them, so he would lean like 2 meters to shake their hand. I'm like, but yeah, it was like, could it be more awkward? Look, maybe he has, and legitimately, maybe he has Asperger's. Maybe he has an issue with other people. What's the word I'm looking for here? Like a social anxiety issue. That could be. And if that's the case, I have empathy for that, right? But if that's the case, maybe you should publicly come out and say, well, I do suffer from this, because people can relate to that. That makes you a human being and not an automaton. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, talking about more conservative assholes, and dipsticks, and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Michael
I think
Barrett.
we've lost Mr. Grizzly. Oh,
Huh?
maybe that's me. Oh, it's me. My connection's going haywire here.
Oh yeah.
You're frozen and I'm frozen.
Yeah, something's going on your end.
I thought it was you because you're. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I looked at my signal, it looked good, but you were frozen, and I thought it was you, and it turns out it was me. But I don't even know what it was. I have no idea. Stuff just happens sometimes.
More conservative assholes. Michael Barrett. Yesterday, we talked about this on the show, right? About the ethics commissioner. Dion, who was the ethics commissioner before, had to step down because of health reasons, and they had to find an interim. And the interim that they picked, well, they were pretty much forced to pick, was the number 2 in command because of all the requirements of the job, who happens to be the sister-in-law by marriage of Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Dominic LeBlanc. Now, of course, conservatives lost their mind because of this again, right? Now, another person that's close to Trudeau being like this. But okay, the ethics commissioner does ethics for everyone, and she's not related to all 338 members of parliament, right? And there was already a screen in place with regard to Dominic LeBlanc. Well, Mr. Grizzly, there have been developments on that file, if you would.
Mm-hmm. Just a second. There you go.
Okay, make sure that the volume is up on this one as well.
Hey, folks, I'm just coming from question period and heading down to committee, but we have some breaking news. Now, yesterday at the Ethics Committee, we passed a motion calling for the Ethics Commissioner and her brother-in-law, who's a member of Cabinet, who has been found guilty of breaking ethics laws, to testify at a study at the Ethics Committee. Now, during question period, we learned the news that the Ethics Commissioner has resigned.
And that's all I'm going to play. Now, I don't know what he says about his brother having been found with an ethics thing. I don't know where that came from whatsoever. I'd have to look into that because I don't recall that whatsoever. But a position that's already impossible to fill, the person who had been named to the interim, she wasn't going to have the job forever, just interim while they were looking for someone, has at least 10 years experience, on her own merit,
Mhm.
became the number 2 in the office, and none of these fuckers had a problem with any of the decisions made while she was there when they slagged Trudeau over the past, what do they call it? Yes, for the first full 8 years of Trudeau. Because they keep on saying after 8 years of Trudeau.
And
When
he
we're not
hasn't,
there
he
yet.
hasn't been
So
in
after
favor.
8 full years of Trudeau with all the decisions, you had no problem with all the decisions where he got his wrist slapped, but now you have a problem with her.
So I get what it is. They're rounding way up because, 2015, 2023, that's 8 years. Well, yeah, but he wasn't sworn in until October. So we're still not there yet. So that's what we call conservative math or reform math,
But they're
in
good
which
with the
case they just
economy, right?
round up. Yeah, they round up in their own favor, which just don't let them have the purse strings. We might be in deep trouble. Well,
Okay.
we already know what Skippy said. We don't believe in those big government programs.
Yeah. But as the thing, that article that we read by Daniel Smith, journalist Daniel Smith, you have to be bilingual. You have to have all this judicial experience. You have all these things that you need to bring. And then the salary is about one third of what it would be in the private sector. There's nobody who wants the job. Mary Dawson had to have her term extended twice before they found Dion. Dion got sick, left early.
Mhm.
They got the only person in the office that could possibly be the interim, and they drove her away. But they care about ethics. They just don't want anybody actually in the position.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now she's gone. Has to be another interim that'll be named, who will probably have less experience.
Can we go back to ethics for just a second?
They're destroying
recall
everything.
Just recently where Skippy was raking over the coals, a journalist from Canadian Press. You work for CP and you feed the CBC and you should check with your ethics to make sure you're not in violation. There's no ethics for that. There's no ethics commissioner for that. It doesn't exist. It's not a position. It's not a thing. But Skippy needs to try and score his nanosecond point to make himself look good.
Yeah.
It's just.
And now I have now those moments are all frustrating, right? Terribly frustrating. Well, I have a beautiful moment now for you kids that you will really like.
Okay. Lay it on me, bruh.
All right. Now, this is Mark Holland. He's the guy that conservatives have been making a lot of hay on, his back on. Sorry, let's try that. He's the person whose back on which they've been making a lot of hay recently, because he was the one that stated in the House that Pierre Poilievre did receive an offer of a briefing that he had refused. And the Pierre goes, I never received an offer of a briefing, which happens to be true. He was never received an offer, probably because he was never cleared. So if you're not cleared, why would anyone make you an offer? So, but they've been literally saying, oh, well, he lied about this. Oh, he's lied about everything. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what happens when you give someone motivation? Let's take a look at what motivation can do, Mr. Grizzly.
Oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy this immensely, aren't I?
Yes, you are. This one's the present. You went through all the tough stuff. I gave you the good stuff with Randy Brosno, then I went through all the annoying Andrew, and then I showed you Michael, whatever his face is.
Here's the payoff. Here's the payoff, right?
The only people getting ahead in this Prime Minister's Canada today are crony liberal insiders covering his vacations and insiders. 40% of Canadians are borrowing from family just to make ends meet. 1 in 5 are skipping meals. People literally eating out of dumpsters in Vancouver because of liberal inflation. And typical liberal logic, their solution is to raise taxes like their failed carbon tax scam, adding an extra 41 cents per litre to fuel up and to heat homes. Why won't the Prime Minister scrap this scam and let Canadians get ahead for once instead of himself and his crony insiders?
Okay, first, wow, the passion. He really, really cares about those people in Vancouver eating out of dumpsters, does he? I mean, I was moved.
Yeah,
I was
incredibly.
moved.
Yeah. It brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah, that's what you call using people's miseries as a cultural. Okay. Now, this thing has to do, what he's asking about is because the Prime Minister took a vacation this Christmas in Jamaica. And the bill came in, right? And the bill is always high. when a prime minister travels.
Of course.
And you
they
have to bring all these extra people around. So,
do.
but
Security.
now turns out that he vacationed with family friends. That's not a problem.
So now they're shitting on him
Yes.
for that, right?
No, they're shitting on because the family friends once made a donation to the Trudeau Foundation, but they're 50-year family friends.
Yeah.
So, gee, they made the donation because they wanted to curry favor with it, or they made it just because they were 50-year family friends in name of someone they loved. Right? So now they're just taking like this, like, these two people once made a donation to the Trudeau Foundation and they took a trip together.
You left out a part there.
Yeah, but all they do is they just state two facts, put them together, go and then let you determine how nefarious it is.
And you got to remember, they do that for the nanosecond, right? They'll get the sound bite on their Rebel News, and they will get a headline in the Sun newspaper chain and Post Media,
they'll raise a couple
all across the country. Exactly. They will grift you for money.
Okay, now. This is the good part.
The payoff.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of hypocrisy and misinformation, but I'll pose a question back to the other side. The Leader of the Opposition gets up every morning in a government-funded bed and
Now, when we come back, there's a lady right about here on the screen in black. Watch her.
Started off really well, and now all of a sudden it's getting out of hand. I'm going to ask the government house leader to start over again, and I want to hear what he says. I think everyone else does as well.
Oh, you do.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition gets up in a government-funded bed in a government-funded house. He enters a government-funded car where he's driven by a government-funded driver, where he goes to a government-funded office with government-funded staff. And I wonder when he gets on his government-funded phone and talks to big tech giants from other countries about how they can destroy the CBC and other public broadcasting. I wonder when he talks to them about his Twitter account, what percentage of public funded, given that he's worked his entire life for the federal paycheck? What is it, 99.8%? Is it 99.9%, Mr. Speaker?
Yeah.
I love the lady in the black in the back of the corner, right? She's like, because in the first clip, when he's talking about it, she's just like clicking stuff like this, and the speaker intervenes, and then she said, wait a minute, he said government front? I should maybe listen to this. And then you see her, like, her smile keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, then she gets up. She makes that whole thing. She's brilliant.
Well, did you notice that, okay, my crush was over his left shoulder? Did you notice my crush over his left shoulder?
Miss Anand?
Miss Marcy Ian.
Oh, yes, Marcy Ian. Yes.
I've been crushing on Marcy since the first time I saw her on television. I still am. I love her. And so during Black History Month, because I work on a number of employee resource groups where I work, and they were trying to get her as a guest speaker, but they couldn't make it happen. And they mentioned that to me, and I'm like, they said, yeah, we're hoping we can get Minister Ian. And I go, Marcy Ian? They go, yeah. I go, oh, I have to take part in that. They're like, well, you're the tech guy. You'll be here. Don't worry. I go, okay, but I want to be in, like, where is she coming into the building, or is she just going to do a remote? It'll just be remote. I'm like, oh. They're like, do you? I go, I've had a thing for Marcy for decades. They're like, and they're all like, well, Paul, you like the black ladies. I go, I just love beautiful women, beautiful, intelligent, articulate women. I have a thing. It's a weakness. I'm not going to lie.
It's a good weakness to have.
I think
beautiful,
so.
Intelligent, and articulate.
Yeah. Yeah, I do, Jen. I love Marcy Ian. I have for a long time. I fully admit it. I got no problem with that. Why would I have an issue with that? She's a beautiful, intelligent, articulate woman. What's not to love about that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she works for her community.
Yep. Your picture's a little fuzzy.
Gave up
for your processor.
Yeah, my processor's going haywire right now. I don't know why. I don't know what's doing it in the background. So let me shut some stuff down here and see if I can improve upon that.
So
what it is,
Mr. Grizzly, I got inspired for another song yesterday. I don't know what's happening
Oh,
to me
did you?
lately, but songs just keep on coming into me when I heard that. Remember that German band Nena?
Yeah, yeah.
99 Red
99
Balloons?
Luftballons.
Yeah.
Mhm.
99.9% funded by the government. We're the ones who pay his rent. Greasy Weiner can get banned. Daddy Lonnie, please help me to defund the CBC. Wanna be the president of Canada. 99.9%. You got
That was a
Jen
good
putting
one.
up red balloon emojis.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my computer because look, here's my processor. This is Generate is the browser, and here's why I use it. It uses a lot less resources than anything else, but I don't know why my CPU is running so hot. Like, look,
Ooh,
it's
88.
everything is minor.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there. It's weird. I do have another screen I want to share with you though. Give me a second here. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I hit the wrong button. I want to share another screen here. Oh, wait, just give me a second here. I got too much on the go and I get a little confused sometimes because I'm kind of simple and feeble.
But
and
it's okay
old
because you're pretty.
sometimes. Well, I'll be prettier once I get rid of this facial hair. But thank you. But I thought I'd go with the weather cam this morning. There's you can see it's weathering outside. The weather outside is weather. It's a
Weather
lovely day
outside.
in Canada's capital.
Oh,
And
the
as I
weather
go,
outside is weather. And I do
as I
not know
go,
weather.
the weather, my God, man, it's everywhere. And you can see that little flag flapping. It's a little windy. That is the flag of Ukraine. That's the Ukrainian ambassador's residence right there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Ah.
So, yeah. Weather outside is weather.
And
That was
do not know weather.
Paul. Oh, I can see his face. I can't think of his surname right now. And he did that in some. What movie was it that he sang that in? He was like, the weather. Oh, the weather outside is weather.
I don't
Can't.
think I've
Paul
ever seen that movie.
Ant-Man.
Oh,
What's
Paul
his
Rudd.
surname? Paul Rudd. Thank you. I wanted to say Paul Schrader, not the same guy.
No.
Paul Rudd. Yeah. And I can't remember what movie it was. The weather. Oh yeah, the weather. Well, the weather outside is weather. Anyway. I get confused sometimes.
No.
So here I am. I'm supposed to be working away, but I can't log into my work computer, and they reset my password. But now I can't even do anything. So I sent a message to my boss. I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I can't do anything. So we'll just continue to do this because I can't even work right now."
All right. I've got another one for you. If you
Good,
just
because I gotta get.
okay.
Look, I gotta rinse my cup. Look at that.
All right.
Look at that. I got a ring of coffee. It's been sitting here so long.
All right.
So we'll put this on the screen while I get a mug of coffee. I'll be right back.
All right. Latest bozo is Premier Scott Moe. I'm going to blow that up for you a little bit here so that you can watch that. There we go. Now, I'm not going to play the clip of Stephen Guilbeault because, well, he's a terrible communicator, and I'm just not going to subject you to that. Sorry. I can't even stand listening to him myself. I am sorry. I'm sure, like I said, he's very knowledgeable and cares about the subject, but yeah, I can't. He's painful to listen to. So he says, great discussion at Net Zero Leadership Summit on the urgent need for ambitious climate action in Canada. We must stay on track for our pollution reduction targets for 2030 and beyond to ensure a strong and sustainable future. And while in that clip, he's talking about the social cost of carbon or social cost on carbon. And Scott Moe, because he's probably been dropped several times on his head, and I don't know, maybe all those DWIs he had, maybe had some other accidents in it where he concussed himself. But he apparently does not know what social cost on carbon is. He is now saying, so he goes, what does Minister Guilbeault mean by social cost on carbon? He is now saying the social cost on carbon, his term, is now $247 a ton, 5 times higher than they previously thought, and that this is a, quote, new tool the federal government is going to use. Is this just not a 5 times higher carbon tax? Girl. If you're the premier, if you're the premier and you do not know, you cannot tell the difference when someone speaks between how much the negative aspects of carbon cost society versus the costs that we are all incurring to regulate carbon. Not at all the same thing. Nowhere near the same thing. Social cost on carbon is the cost of doing nothing, not the cost we pay to try to do freaking something. How is this guy premier? How can you be that stupid and stand upright simultaneously?
Well, Trump became president, so.
But there's, that expression, right? Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak out and remove all doubt. Thank you for removing all doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Just opening up your mouth and removing all doubt. Fork your dumb. You, Scott Moe, are dumb. And if you aren't naturally dumb, then you're dumb for pay, which is worse.
Yeah.
Seriously, dude.
Yeah.
Trying to spin social cost on carbon as a 5 times increase on carbon. What the is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
You're too dumb to tweet. Delete your account. Just you're too dumb to tweet. Unbelievable. I would say it's the liquor. And then Stephen Gilboa, this was not there. You know what? He's a terrible communicator vocally, but I think when he has a little bit of time to think about it, social cost of carbon is not my term, and it's not new. It comes from the EPA and the NASEM. The EPA being the United States EPA, and the NASEM being the National Academies. I'm guessing National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine. It's simple. Pollution costs us all, and we should understand those costs to help us make smart policy choices. The price on pollution and the direct rebates to Canadians remain the same. Let me explain it to you like you're 3. Not 6, 3.
So, you know how I try and keep my finger on the pulse of the zeitgeist and keep it up to. I just noticed on the Twitter timeline, I came across my feed here a minute ago that John Candy is currently trending, which he damn well should be.
Yes.
And remember how when Norm Macdonald hosted the very first Canadian Screen Awards, because they used to be the ACTRA and they used to be the Genies, and then they just made it the Screen Awards. And he says, I think we should rename this the Candy. And then who won? That young lad who was in the room. And the first thing he says, my first Candy. And I'm like, well, that was pretty cool.
Yes.
And here's a screenshot of the late, great John Candy. And let me just hang on a second here. I'm just going to share the screen. Give me a sec. The late, great John Candy from the film Splash, when he was drinking, smoking, and playing racquetball at the same time. And a lot of the stuff I'm seeing on the feed right now are basically saying things like, Chris Farley was funny. John Candy was hilarious. His characters, Dr. Tongue, Johnny LaRue, Mr. Mambo, Yorgi, Josh Schmengi, and his incredible performance as Dean Andrews proved what a talented and versatile actor he was in JFK.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He played a Southern Louisiana gentleman, and he played it perfectly.
He did. That was one of his total against to type. One of his few roles that was against
a very serious, but it's like the man could act. He was a talented man, and the world is a little lesser for. I get emotional because I really miss him. Yeah, I really do.
You just saw him on screen and you had a smile right off the bat.
Well, he was an everyman. I mean, a literal everyman. Like when he became part owner of the Toronto Argonauts, he sold that. Like that was his lifelong dream, was to play for the Argos to begin with. Then he became an owner of the team. That was the happiest moment in his life. And Bruce McNall, who turned out to be a fraud, but both Bruce McNall and Wayne Gretzky said, we cannot let John Candy go broke over this. If we take any losses, you and I'll take them on. And they were like, yep, no problem. If John Candy ends up broke over this, they will hate us forever. The world will hate us. So we can't let John be in any type of financial peril whatsoever, because everybody loved the man. I mean, and he was that much of a lovable guy, and just a great Canadian kid. You got a good photo there for me, sir?
I do.
There we are. Yeah. It's almost 30 years ago. Can you believe that?
No way.
Man.
Love that guy. Love that guy. And that young actor is Jacob Tremblay in Room.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was amazing in that. Did you see the
He
movie?
really was. Oh, yeah. I've seen
It's
it a couple
good.
times, actually.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really,
well, and
really,
that was the film that introduced me to Brie Larson.
Yeah.
Because I never knew she was. And then now she's Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
But she was great in that.
I think she won too, right? She won the Oscar?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I do have to double check, but I think she did.
Yeah. Yeah. She's I was worried about seeing that movie. Well, not worried. I thought it might have been boring because Room, right? It's like one room, most of it. No. Well, not at all.
And when I first heard the title, I thought they were, it's like Room is up for an Oscar. I'm like, The Room?
Oh, yeah.
It's the worst film ever made.
Yes,
and I've seen that several times in theater, and each time it gets worse. You watch it the first time and you're so floored by how bad it is. You go back and you think, well, at least that one character wasn't too bad. You go back to see it a second time and it's like, oh no, he can't act either. Nobody can act. There's nobody in that film that, now, maybe I'm being harsh, but it's the worst film ever made. It's really terrible. And it's hilarious, and it's not meant to be. It's supposed to be a drama, right? But it's so bad. And each watching it just gets worse. And I've seen it at the Mayfair a couple of times. I've gone to a midnight showing with some friends. So we went out, we were next door at the pub having a few drinks, and we get into the theater and we sit there. And he goes, okay, when you hear them yell spoon, duck. I go, why? The first time I go, why? He goes, trust me. And we're at like fifth or sixth row from the screen. All of it, when you say spoon, all these plastic spoons go flying.
That has a little bit of Rocky Horror to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mr. Grizzly, that's pretty much all the stuff that I have noted.
Oh, well, I gotta keep busy because I can't do any work right now. I can't do any work because I can't log in.
Yeah. But as far as I know, unless you have something, I have a show.
Okay. Well, I do have. I will post this on the screen for a second, and I'll read it for anybody listening to the audio only version, because they obviously can't see it. This is the warning signs of fascism, and correct me if I'm wrong. There are 14 of them, correct? Warning signs of fascism: nepotism and cronyism, widespread corruption, identifying, in quotation marks, enemies as a unifying cause, nationalism, often with simple slogans, disdain for human rights, identifying some humans as lower status, religion and government intertwined, corporate power protected, labor power suppressed, disdain for intellectualism and the arts, increasing police and military power, punishing of personal enemies, squelching of opposing viewpoints, opposing freedom of the press, controlling narrative through media ties, isolating followers from outside information, sexism, gender roles more rigid, obsession with national, in quotation marks, security, and fraudulent elections. Now, that was inspired by Lawrence Britt's 2003 article, Fascism, Anyone? How many of those points are we living in right now? I mean, south of the 49th, I think they're hitting on every single one of them.
Yep.
and you know, Skippy the Wonder Pigeons party is trying to bring all of them in here, and well, how many cylinders is he firing on with that one?
All of them for this.
All 14, I would
There's
say.
19 there.
Is there
Yeah,
19?
that's 19 warning
Wow.
signs. Yeah. So yeah, it's a different, it comes from a different
Different
place
list.
than the ones I use.
Yeah, but it's still
similar,
right.
Yeah. The ones I always refer to is this one here, Mr. Grizzly. Let's put it up.
Happy to.
Philosopher Umberto Eco, who wrote Foucault's Pendulum and the Name of the Rose.
Is that what he looks like? I've never seen his picture before.
Yeah.
I knew his name. I knew his writings. I never knew what he looked like.
Yeah. So he's got his 14. He has a little bit of a description with them, but the cult of tradition. Right. So the rejection of modernism, the cult of action for action's sake. Disagreement is treason. Fear of difference. Appeal to social frustration. The obsession with a plot. The enemy is both strong and weak. That's the one. That's when they use that one a lot on Prime Minister Trudeau, right? Single-handedly controls the price of oil. Too dumb to show up with a debate to remember to put his pants on. Right? Like this. Yeah. But single-handedly is destroying the world's economy. Too dumb to work a toaster. Right. Pacifism is trafficking with the enemy. Contempt for the weak. Everyone is educated to become a hero. Machismo and weaponry. Selective populism. And your fascism speaks newspeak. So all the Nazi or fascist school books make use of an impoverished vocabulary and an elementary syntax in order to limit the instruments for complex and critical reasoning. That's what your fascism speaks newspeak. You are. So and then of course, you know, there's always a little example on that one, but I'll include that one here in the chat for you. There you go, Mr. Grizzly. If you can put that in the chat for the kits, that's the link to them. It's a really, really, really good read, and that's the one. Those are the ones to which I refer to when I talk about the 14 characteristics of fascism, just so the kids know. There you go on that one. Do we have a show, Mr. Grizzly?
We do, sir. I think for the most part, I am struggling right now with work because I can't log in. I think I'm going to have to. I think I'm going to have to bathe, put on some clothing because I'm in pajamas right now, as you can tell, and go into the office to get my computer fixed so I can actually, you know, do my job because nobody seems to be coming to my aid today.
Oh no, you're like Princess Peach.
Well, I mean, I could say, well, I couldn't log in, so I couldn't do my work, and they'd be like, "Hey, dum-dum, you're a 10-minute walk." Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I don't have a legitimate excuse to not go to the office, so I'm going to have to. Nobody's been able to help me, so I'm just going to bathe quickly and head in, so I can, you know, do my job.
Right.
Do my job. Here's an interesting comment from Ree. If it'll post, I'm trying to. That's not it. What's going on here? I'm trying to post this. Some dude named Anthony Fury. Actually, Anthony Fury is a writer with the Sun Chain. Has been around for, 25 years?
Yeah.
Is running for Toronto, is talking about ripping up bike lanes. He calls them the radical bike lobby. Did Locke fund his campaign? Now, here's the thing. Locke's using the bike lanes now because he bought a scooter.
Yes, he did.
I want to see pictures of Lachlan on the scooter.
Yes. Before we go, since we do have a little time, a couple of kits have sent in some comments about some of our shows. So we could read them in. Now, this is going a little back, but episode 56, Sorry Tories, we had Kit Andrew write in going, in 1987, Doug Williams, minority, that's when we were talking about the CFL and the Grey Cup games after that guy from the Chiefs got dinged pretty hard, I think. And we were talking about, anyway, that's what brought the subject on when we were talking about the CFL. In 1987, Doug Williams, minority, number 17 of the Washington Redskins football team, started at quarterback, won the game, received the MVP award, and helped his team win Super Bowl 22 against the Denver Broncos. In 1987, 36 years ago, since then, the QBs like Cam Newton, etc., have also started as a minority raced quarterbacks in the Super Bowl playoffs. Both quarterbacks in last night's game are amazing. Yes, there was 2 instead of 1, but many fans only see great starting quarterbacks. Race only plays into off the field. Race only plays into off the field noise, in my humble opinion. Just passing on a little info. Enjoyed the show. Appreciate your time in reading. So there you go. Because that Super Bowl was historic because they had black starting quarterbacks, but there was one from each team.
Yes,
but there was one before.
True.
In our episode 69, Waiting for Godot, we had a scene where somebody was filming someone and they were like trying to block the phone with their hand. We had Kit Darcy going, I find it funny that people always try to block a phone with their hand and it really has no effect. That is very true indeed.
We can still hear you
because and we can like move. Episode 70, Influence Games, where we had Mubin Sheikh from Kit PNC Bio. Love getting the Mubin view of things in our fair land. You should schedule an appearance every 6 months if y'all can make it work. Thanks for your work, Mubin.
Love to have him on whenever he can join us, because he's not only is he a great guest, but he knows what he's talking about. And as we've said time and time again, we love knowledge, we love intellect, we love insightful people who are experts in their field, because we believe in experts.
Yes, and just as yesterday we forgot to celebrate everybody a happy 420, we also forgot to wish a happy Eid. To all of us.
Oh yes, that's right.
Because it was yesterday as well. Mubin had posted a photo of the last samosa.
I was talking with a coworker yesterday, and we were talking about how I said I tend to fast 3 days a week, and she goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, involuntarily." She goes, "What?" I go, "I'm too busy to eat." When I'm in the office. She goes, "Are you serious?" I go, "Yeah, I don't have time. Sometimes I'll, like on Wednesday. Yesterday was Thursday. This is Friday. On Wednesday, my boss was in and we did a review and a bunch of stuff. And I didn't eat until 4:00. I had a sandwich at 4:00. I was just too busy.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes. She goes, "Paul, that's not a good thing." And I go, "Yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't know." I go, "Well, I average 10,000 steps a day in the building, and you see how slim and trim I am? It's because I walk a lot and I don't eat." She goes, "Paul," I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I need to try and get food into my face." But we had a good chuckle, and then we had a long conversation about how, people are saying, "Oh, intermittent fasting, and I'll do a fast for 4 days a week." And I go, "Yeah, in my day, in the 80s and 90s, we called that an eating disorder." It's just an eating disorder by another name today to polish it up and make it look like you're doing something good. I'm like, it's detrimental. It's scary. It can lead down a path to an eating disorder. And then she made an interesting comment. She says, eating disorders are a lifelong thing, like alcoholism or drug addiction. You have to work to keep it under control your entire life. And I'm like, I never thought about it like that before, but you're absolutely right. It is. It's a lifelong, is the word obsession the wrong word? I can't think of the right word to put in there. Concern. Yeah, it's something you have to pay attention to your entire life, whether it's drug addiction or alcoholism or gambling, or is sex addiction really a thing now? Or is it just something? It is really a thing?
Definitely is.
Okay.
It most definitely is.
I thought it was just something we like. Anyway,
I'm not addicted. I just really like it a lot. Like a lot.
Yeah. Affliction. Thank you, Jen. That's the word. Yes. It's a lifelong affliction that you need to pay attention to, because you can lose control of it very easily, whether it's alcoholism, drug addiction, sex addiction, or an eating disorder. It's an affliction that you must pay attention to.
All of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, all the addictions, body dysmorphia. Addiction is anything that occupies so much of your time that it becomes an unhealthy obsession. So, yeah, I know friends who spent a little too much time in the gym and then started, like, literally, I can't eat that. I can't. I'm like, come on, man, live a little. You're going to die someday. You can't beat the clock on that. Yeah. We're all living on borrowed time.
Yeah. Well,
have a little bit of fun.
Well, that was the thing. I should show it one day. I have a picture of myself. I think when I was my early 30s, where somebody was doing a poster for a play called Happy Birthday. And basically they wanted someone basically holding a cake with one candle at a very strategic spot like this and naked otherwise. And they asked me to be the model for that. And we did some strategic landscaping and we took the photo and the photo came back and it's like, that's me. Like there are lines on my body. Like
I didn't know I could do that.
I didn't know I was, wow. And I was like, I'm sitting there. It's like, I think I had a 2-pack.
Maybe that was the first.
Maybe a 1.5 pack.
Well, somebody said, somebody asked me recently, said, well, what, you're not drinking right now? I go, no, I'm training. They go, what are you training for? I'm going, so I can look like this again. Mm-hmm. And I'm not far off that. Like literally it'll take me 4 weeks and I'll look like that again. Yeah. Look, I'm very, very lucky in that crazy metabolism. I'm allergic to everything, so I can't eat garbage. It's just a matter of getting back into exercising. That's all. I understand that I'm very lucky. Hey, look, I have other issues. I can't see. I'm gone deaf in one ear. I got these teeth and, ADHD, OCD, anxiety, depression. So, and I'm allergic to everything. So, there's a trade-off.
There's a trade-off.
There's a trade-off. I get to look like that, but I have all these other things that I have to deal with, right? So,
So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, I could have the full 6-pack. My body will allow it. But I like pizza and chocolate.
Well, and you got to live.
So it's sort of like I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like I could be a very happy 1.5 pack or slightly dad bodish guy. Or I could be a very unhappy 6-pack where so I got the 6-pack, but I'm happy and grumpy because nobody has fed me chocolate in like 6 months. What's the point? I'd rather be happy.
Jim's comment. Jim's comment on the screen there.
It's called a keg, Doug. Well, my keg is much smaller, I have to say. Thank you very much. And the last comment before we go, also from Darcy from episode 80, PP Tries Policy. I don't know if you know that these people like Freedom Central Canada and the majority of these other grifters are still on the whining machine about people like Maxime Bernier and Mark Friesen that have all these fines for their freedom stance. I am getting really sick of their constant complaining about this, as if the rest of us that do not pay them will be denied a driver's license, car insurance, or whatever else. Just my angry rant for the day.
No kidding.
Yeah, really.
No kidding.
So thank you, Kits, for writing in. It's great to have an opportunity to read a few.
We appreciate your feedback.
Because we do read everything. I do have a 6-pack, Douglas. Yeah, in the fridge.
He says, I do have a 6-pack of Bud Light. Do you remember the Bud Light promo from a few years back? It was with the actor Ted I want to say Williams, played Isaac on the Love Boat. He was the bartender Isaac on the Love Boat.
Williams.
This calls for a Bud Light. Is it Ted Williams? Yeah, it's Williams. Right?
Yeah. This calls for Bud Light.
Did you know that he's a fitness buff? Like he is in ridiculous shape.
Oh, really? I did that.
Oh, yeah. A lifelong, not just a fitness, like he's not obsessive about it, but he takes very good care of himself. He has a restrictive diet because he's much like me, allergic to a lot of things. So he decided that, well, if I can't eat garbage, why don't I eat really healthy and exercise more? He is somebody to pay attention to. Like the guy's in crazy good shape. Isaac, this calls for a Bud Light.
Oh, interesting.
They should bring that commercial back, but have Dylan Mulvaney do it. That would really piss off the rednecks.
Oh my God.
Have Isaac and Isaac, because he was playing the character of Isaac the bartender in the Bud Light commercials. Have him come back, do that with Dylan Mulvaney. There you go, Bud Light. That's free. You don't have to pay me for that one. Just send me some beer, which I'll probably give away because it's not really a beer I'll drink. But you know what? A Bud Light or a Coors Light on the golf course on a blistering hot day is a good beer on a golf course because it's a lighter beer and it's very watery to begin with. And let's face it, when it's 38 degrees on the course, you're drinking more water than beer once you get to a certain age because you want to be able to finish the game and not die.
Yeah. It's Ted Lange, sorry, not Ted Williams.
Thank you, because Ted Williams was the baseball player. He was the last man to hit over 400. Had a 400 batting average. Ted Lang, thank you. I knew it wasn't Williams. That's why I was confused. Ted Lang, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. They make some good skates too. At least they used to.
Oh.
Lang skates. Don't you remember Lang? They were the one with the molded boot.
Yes.
And the foam padding.
Yeah.
Lang. Yeah.
We got a photo of sort of what he looks like today.
Bring it up. Yeah, there we go. Ted Lang. And he's what? He must be almost 80.
He must be 80 now, yeah. But yeah, that's what he looks like today. There you go.
Yeah. I said physically fit, takes good care of himself, has forever.
Absolutely. All right.
And that's right. This I like this one here. This is from Ree. The pyramids were built on 2% ale. That's true. There is a documentary. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek documentary, but it's very literal. They have a little bit of fun with it. It's called How Beer Saved the World.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
No, but I've heard of it.
It's on Netflix. Yep. I think it's on Netflix. It's on one of the streaming services. I watched it a few years ago, and they talk about how beer was accidentally invented when they were building the pyramids. It was literally an accident. And then they talk about how beer kept us alive during the medieval times.
Right.
And the reason Guinness became what Guinness is was because Arthur Guinness said, we need to have good, healthy beer for the Dublin boys to drink, because the water, I mean,
right.
It was a sewer, right?
Yep.
So you couldn't drink the water. They didn't realize that they were purifying the water when they boiled it and made beer. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what they were doing, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, beer saved the world, and it's again tongue in cheek, but all true, all factual information. So if you can find it, give it a whirl.
There you go. Well, kids, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver podcast. We hope you love listening to us, because we sure do love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So please, if you can flap your gums and let people know we exist, we would really appreciate that. Because democracy is something that you do. Please write to your MPs, your MLAs, your senators, your media. Let them know that you support our public servants. Mm-hmm. And let them know also that you demand better. You just do.
And you can also dirty, used up, crusty old flip-flops. you know where to send them, folks. You know where to send them.
Skippy, House of Commons, Ottawa. Find the postal code. You don't need a stamp.
That's it.
If you really like this podcast, you can find us on Crier Media Network, as well as all Beaver Grizzly friendly platforms. Stars and reviews are appreciated. We love to hear from you, so please reach us on our Facebook, True North Eager Beaver, our Twitter feed at True Eager, or by email truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. Our pod page is podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters, hyphen between each one of those words, and that's where you go to subscribe, so that when there's something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly into your inbox, and that you can, well, just know that we're around and that we've got something new for you. Why not also subscribe to our True North Eager Beaver Media YouTube channel? Yes. If you smash that subscribe button, that really helps us out. And if you smash the like button, that also helps us out. Yeah. But we are looking for people to subscribe. Oh, and I see that, yes, Kit James is on in the chat saying, see you tonight, Douglas and Paul, for the Black Bold Casual Fridays.
James is back.
Yes.
We're going to be taking part.
Yes. I'm hoping I will be able to join, because I will be at the Ottawa Beaver Lodge this evening, because I have to wake up in Ottawa, because tomorrow is podcast day.
And might have a few people joining us that I've already spoken to. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Might have a couple of guests.
Okay.
We're always going to have guests, but there's a couple that I was like, yeah, we're doing this thing. Do you want it? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, this could be cool. Okay. Could be cool. Look, it's going to be a lot of fun. It always is.
Yep.
A little earlier start. Remember, earlier start tomorrow. We're starting at 1 p.m. instead of 2.
Yes.
Because James has Noam Chomsky on at 6. And so he needs that 30-minute buffer. And look, we might just end it at 5. So that'll, we're going to play it by ear. But 5:30, it's a hard out. But we'll see. 4.5 hours. We'll see how we do.
Yep. Yep. So please join us for that, and hopefully in Ottawa at the Beaver Lodge, my computer or internet will work well enough to allow me to participate. Because the last time I tried to connect from Ottawa, it for some reason did not want to work for me. So fingers crossed
Yeah.
that I'll be able to jump in and do the Casual Friday tonight.
Well, remember to run into the store to get your computer tweaked, right?
Yeah, hopefully I will have time to do that today
Yeah.
because I still have to get on a bus and get there.
Mm.
And most of next week, I think I will be doing it in Ottawa because it's the 1 week workshop I have for the play I got cast in Malonga Night. So yeah, hoping that the internet connection does hold up for the week for the morning shows as well.
We'll figure
So
something out.
yeah, so I might have to be adding more RAM to my computer or boosting my internet signal kits. So there's possibility you might be without me one day. It seems that they have to send someone to come over to my place to visit to boost
That
the
doesn't make
internet
any
thing.
sense.
Yeah, that
doesn't
didn't make
know.
sense to me too when I saw it.
Unless your modem needs to be tweaked. But here's the thing: you lowered your speed for the pandemic, which means your
Yes.
modem is capable of doing more. So
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. We can't do this without your kind and generous support. So if you feel that we've done a particularly good show, then if you're watching, please scan the QR code right by Mr. Grizzly's head. And if you are listening, you go to our coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, one word, lowercase letters. And that's where you can make your contribution to our emergency hot chocolate coffee Caesar Guinness Fund. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Almost
Cup
out.
is low.
Almost out.
Cup is low.
And
But
literally,
but
I'm going
you've
to
come
drink
to the
an
rescue
entire.
this week.
I'm gonna drink an entire pot of coffee today because when you only get an hour's sleep.
Yes. Yep. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your eager beaver saying, until next time, dear kids, it can be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And yes, as Kit Jim is saying, solidarity with PSAC. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom for us before we go?
Um, you know, I know I'm going to get asked this question, and usually I have a nugget or a kernel up here that I can grab from the ether, pull down, put into my brain, and throw it to everybody. But today I find I'm rather bereft of ideology, ideas of things to say. So I'm going to do what they do in radio when you need to make a long pause and you just talk incessantly without actually ever saying anything, but you keep it rolling and keep the voice going so that the listener is not hearing dead air. And that's a trick that we use in the radio business that I've never actually worked in. But here's the thing, because I've worked as a master of ceremonies at hundreds of weddings and other corporate events and things such as that, and I conduct meetings on a daily basis, I'm able to talk for long periods of time without ever saying anything of any substance. Now, there are times when I can throw some substance in there and keep it rolling, but the whole point is just to keep my voice going, to try and lull you into a sense of romanticism and calm and relaxation. And you don't even hear what I'm saying. It's all about the intonation of my voice. You see, voice acting is a thing we do to keep the listener engaged. And that's what I just did. Not
Mr.
bad,
Grizzly,
eh? Literally pulled that right out of my butt.
did it hurt? Mr. Grizzly, roll the credits.
Feeling relieved, I can tell you that. Feeling relieved.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
I have to do this. I have to do this. James just said that PSAC is Pierre Bolivar's rapper's name. and then, and then
Well,
he
that's
put a little
brilliant.
something. So I need a beat.
Boom, da boom, boom, boom,
Yo.
da boom, boom,
Yo,
boom,
yo,
da boom,
check
boom,
it out.
boom, da boom,
Check it
boom,
out now.
boom,
My
da
name is
boom, boom,
P-Sec, and
boom,
I'm here
da
to
boom, boom,
say I
boom,
have
da
no
boom, boom,
idea why
boom,
I'm here
da boom,
today.
boom. I can't beatbox, clearly. I cannot beatbox. So we're going to leave you with this, folks, and then we'll be back to say one more little thing. This is important. You need to pay attention to this very important message. This is an important. Welcome to the place where everyone knows your name, where everyone's your friend, where good times are had by all. Sit back, relax, pour yourself a beverage and enjoy our company. I know we'll certainly enjoy yours. Welcome to the True North Eager Beaver Pubcast. Once a month, we gather at the Lieutenant's Pump at 361 Elgin Street in downtown Ottawa, Canada's capital city, bringing you joy and happiness all day long.
Oh.
What are you doing?
I saw 50 Cent do it in a video once.
Oh, okay. I'll take you to the candy shop. That song is not about candy. It's not about candy.
Wow, wow.
Have you ever seen the Dan Band? You know who the Dan Band is? They were in they played the wedding band in the very first The Hangover.
Okay.
Look up the Dan Band and watch some of their clips. They're really funny.
Right.
Really fun. Well worth your time because they sing everything and it's trust me, it's good. It's good. All right.
Have a great weekend, kids.
We'll see you later.